Welcome.
Ooh.
Welcome to Secret Podcasque. My name is Dustin White, and I am here with my I'm gonna have to be biased here. My favorite guest.
Okay.
I'm here with my wife, Deidra White. Deidra, how's it going?
Swell.
You haven't at least publicly done a lot with the secret community lately.
Or privately.
Oh.
Not a lot.
Not a ton.
I come in every now and then. I'm not a 24/7er.
Like me?
Yeah. Well, we took a break for a little bit.
We did. All right. So we're going to wait for the chat room to start filling up. But we are going to be talking about, I guess, the puzzle that's nearest and dearest to our hearts because we've dug it so many times.
Because we've been there, a few times.
We are going to talk about San Francisco, California. Can you please bring up the screen since you're next to the clicker?
The clicker.
The mouse.
I guess you haven't really had a guest that's actually sitting next to you.
No.
Right? It's been a while.
No, it's been a while. So, yes, we've got the thing pulled up now. I do want to say, before we really dig into the secret today.
No pun intended.
Yeah. Well, 1 week from today is sad anniversary for the secret community because 1 week from today is the first anniversary of John Michael's passing away. And he was a dear friend of ours, and we miss him. I think about him all the time. I really do.
Especially while working on this.
Of course. Yeah. Well, this whole Secret Podcasque thing was his brainchild. And
it was.
Well, and I just remember that day, that morning, or was it morning, when we were trying to figure out what to call the new show. And he had a bright idea to call it Secret Podcasque. And he's like, well, wait a second, run it by Deidra first. Let's make sure. Right. Let's make sure that it sounds okay and that it is.
You get invested in something, right?
Yeah. And I told you, and you start laughing, and you're
like, you gave me a list.
What else was on the list?
I do not remember, but I was like, I'm not gonna lie, I like that one.
Yeah, and then I told John immediately, and John was like, "That's it. That's the
Sold.
one."
I think he secretly wanted it to be that, and then was stoked when I was like, "Yeah."
I just remember telling him that you liked that one, and he was like, "All right, that's what it is."
Sold.
So yeah, we're thinking about you today, John Michaels, and we're gonna do another Secret Podcasque next Sunday, and we'll be definitely thinking about you then because I think it's going to be mostly dedicated to John Michaels stuff. So
cool.
John Michaels, we miss you. All right. Well, we're here to talk about San Francisco, California. And this one, like I said, it's near and dear to our hearts because, well, I don't know if you guys know, but Deidra and I were on a little TV show trying to dig this one up.
I'm sure they know.
They probably know. Hey, by the way, in the chat, what's up, chat? People are starting to filter in. There are, messages starting to pop up. In the description for this video, there's a link for StreamYard. It says there's a link. Click it and allow it to display your name because literally on my end, I see Facebook user for all the chat coming up. I don't know who you are. So either write your name and then your comment or click on that link, which is preferred, and then we can see who it is. So thank you so much for showing up. People are saying hello. So hello. We're going to talk about some Golden Gate Park here. We have the image. This is painting one.
I'm not
from the Secret.
Image.
I know, but it's in that direction as far as me displaying my hand down here in the corner.
I am the image.
Yeah. And then so this is our lady next to the cliff house or the
next to a lot of cliffs
and standing on a balcony or something, I don't know, with a rose next to her. There's a lot going on in this image, and we hope to break some of it down and more importantly the verse down to where we think that where we believed as far as Expedition Unknown went, where the clues led us.
Absolutely.
So can you click on this screen real quick?
Okay.
So that we activate it over here. No. Okay. Let's see. Right. There we go.
It's been activated.
It's activated. And so Wig Reeves and Mike Stewart, you guys are the first ones to have your names displayed. Well done. Hello. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. All right. So our first trip through San Francisco's The Secret is going to take us through Golden Gate Park. Actually, in almost the exact footsteps we shared with Josh Gates, right?
Almost. I mean, pert near. And so we, at that point, for that theory, we use verse number 7. Do you want to read it, or would you like me to? Oh, you go for it.
All right. So verse 7 begins, at Stonewall's door, the air smells sweet. Not far away, high poster 3. Education and justice for all to see. Sounds from the sky, near aces high. Running north, but first across in Jules' direction, is an object of Twain's attention. Giant pole, giant step, to the place the casque is kept. Very poetic.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like it's a verse.
Yeah.
A poetic verse.
It is. And it
I love it.
It flows nice. It's very elegant and beautiful, and has lots of fun things in it, like jewels and whatever education and justice is.
I mean, it has directions.
It does.
I mean, that is more or less what we're looking at here. When you go back in, I want to say in olden times, but like when you're describing how to get somewhere, you're telling them, you know, start at the Chick-fil-A and then go here. This is different. It's start at Stonewall's door. You know, the one where the air smells sweet.
That's the one.
And then you're going to go over here.
We just have to figure out which one it is.
And now that is the challenge. I don't know, honestly.
I don't know either, because we don't have the casque for San Francisco.
Yeah. Without proof in my hand.
Yeah, and neither does Gerald Gay. Okay. All right.
Sorry if anybody didn't get that reference.
Well, I'll explain it real quick. Gerald Gay is a very famous French treasure hunter, and he has found all sorts of treasures all throughout Europe, apparently. And he came to San Francisco in, I think, the summer of 2019, and he claimed to have found the casque. Well, I don't have a picture. Alert. Actually, I might. I don't want to mess up the screen. Yeah. What he found was something that he had made for the purpose of finding it and claiming that he won the Secret San Francisco, which, he did not. And that was confirmed by many people. So anyway, this is the theory that we submitted to Expedition Unknown for purposes of them wanting to work with us to dig. And what's not in here is our whole shadow theory, because we didn't want that to leak.
Yeah.
And that's what really made them want to work with us, because this is just a theory like any other.
Yeah. And that's just it. It's still just a theory. And we spitball on a lot of different theories, just, from time to time, which we'll talk about later. And so for us, it's a constant, almost like, I feel like a living, breathing idea, right? Sure. It's constantly changing. This is from like one of our earlier theories that we had put together, but since it's one many people know, it's a good place to start. Yeah,
for sure. And this is a fun, good place to start, because I'm going to go back real quick, we just started, to the painting. What we see as far as the wardrobe of this woman, her dress, there's a giant rectangle that covers most of her body, and many believe, and I would hesitate, like, I don't know how it's wrong.
Yeah, I'd have a hard time.
If this isn't the case, I don't know how, but many believe this is the shape representing Golden Gate Park, because it looks, well, basically just like Golden
Gate Park, right?
And it's got like a giant strawberry shape in the middle, where Strawberry Hill would be at Golden Gate Park. It's a real place, a real reference.
Yeah.
So, there's people that think this is in different places. This is like not even in California. So those people, keep searching, do your thing.
Nobody's holding the casque.
Yeah, nobody's holding the casque yet. So, then we have the verse, and we have our breaking down of the verse. And we'll get into that. Do you have anything to share before we get into that?
No, I don't think so.
All right. I do want to say thanks to everybody that has clicked on the link to go to StreamYard and let your name be displayed, because I see a whole bunch of people like Wendy and Nick and Troy. Thank you guys for doing that, and welcome to the thing. One other thing before we really dive deep in, if you're feeling like you'd like to, click like, and then go ahead and share this to any of the secret groups that you're in that think could benefit from this or would enjoy this. So thanks for doing so. All right, let's break down the verse. Do you want to chat about this, or do you want me to read it, or how should we approach this?
maybe we should have talked about that ahead of time. So the first part, at Stonewall's door, the air smells sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to just read it or paraphrase?
Well, the way that we kind of broke it down for the Expedition Unknown people is, I'll read it out loud. At the easternmost entrance of Golden Gate Park, at the intersection of Stanyan Street and John F. Kennedy Drive, there is a stone building called McLaren Lodge. The building, built in 1896, was home to and named for the first Golden Gate Park Superintendent, John McLaren. The stonework on the exterior is very reminiscent to the dragon scales featured in the painting. Traveling west on John F. Kennedy Drive, a quarter of a mile from McLaren Lodge, one would reach the Conservatory of Flowers, a major attraction in Golden Gate Park. Built in 1879, the Conservatory of Flowers is the oldest building in Golden Gate Park. You're intended to enter Golden Gate Park on JFK Drive, continue west on the same street, passing McLaren Lodge. That's our at Stonewall's door, to where the air smells sweet, the Conservatory of Flowers. And here we have some map and some image matches that could
help explain.
That could help explain. And this is a nice little layout Deidra made for the
visual
people.
Thinker.
So, any thoughts on at Stonewall's door, or didn't we change where the air smells sweet? I think we did to the rhododendron garden, which is right around the corner from McLaren Lodge.
Yeah, I mean, there's the rhododendron garden. We know that, there is the Conservatory of Flowers, and it's very interesting because when you actually are there, and you've seen this on television, it actually smells sweet. You wouldn't know that unless you were boots on the ground there, but it hits you. There's absolutely no doubt that it smells sweet.
It is fragrant. So yeah, very cool. And in the bottom left of this diagram, or this slide, we see a profile of John F. Kennedy, comparing that to a possible profile of John F. Kennedy in the painting. Jury's out on that. There's a lot of people say it could be Ronald Reagan, could be John F. Kennedy, could be Abraham Lincoln. We'll get back to Lincoln later.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's that. And then not far away, High Poster 3, we had something completely different in our proposal than what we had for Expedition Unknown.
That's
like when
true.
We showed up, because we thought we had another bright idea. And so 3/4 away from, or 1 3/4 of a mile from Conservatory of Flowers down JFK Drive, is Lindley Meadow. And this is what we think is maybe not far away.
Mm-hmm.
There is a 26-foot tall goddess of the forest totem pole, or she sat on her pedestal from the 1940s to 1986. The goddess of the forest is a non-traditional totem pole carved out of a single giant redwood log by Dudley Carter for the Golden Gate International Exposition in San Francisco in 1940. The goddess of the forest features the goddess herself, a carved owl, and a carved bear that are prominent on the front of the wooden sculpture. The goddess is very reminiscent of the woman in the painting and has a dragon and blades on her chest, just as the goddess of the forest has an owl and a bear on her chest. The recent discovery of the 1983 edition of The Secret has exclusive, legitimate, and major hints that could be verified for the solved treasure sites, and translations for it in Japanese readers would be able to. Anyway, the High Poster 3 or wood is like the clue, the hint. I'm not going to read all this. It's too much. It's really wordy.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Anyway, we thought the High Poster 3 would be the goddess of the forest itself, because there was 3 figures on it. But what we found out later, or maybe even before this, there was a figure on the back of the head of the goddess of the forest too, like an eagle. Mm-hmm. And so that's really High Poster 4, if that's what this is.
Exactly. And that was shortly before we even started filming with them, because we got in there and actually got to talk with some people.
Yeah. And then that's why we ended up changing some of that. And then Education and Justice for All to See, which would be the next part, takes place, we believed, in the what's the name of that area where the museum is and all that? Can't remember off the top of my head. Music Concourse.
There you go.
There we go. You got that on there?
Yeah.
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 And
music
so we
concourse
thought that the
drive.
education would be the Academy of Sciences, which is a building there.
Yes.
And then the justice is the Star Spangled Banner, and Justice for All is supposed to make you think of the flag, which there's a big Francis Scott Key Memorial there. And that's where we were going with
And
that.
then who's on top? Oh my gosh.
Oh gosh, what's the name of that? Columbia?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so the figure of Columbia is on top of the Francis Scott Key Memorial, and we'll get into that in a minute. We'll get there. True. And so this is the goddess of the forest. We figured that it wasn't far away, but you weren't there yet. And then we changed it to the Conservatory of Flowers being the post or 3, because the building's made out of wood. Yes, it had like probably lightning rods or whatever on top, but the spires were made out of wood because the whole wood building is glass and wood.
Yeah, originally.
So that's what we were thinking when we got on the show. Here's the guy. All right. So education and justice for all to see, we thought would be connected to this guy, Francis Scott Key, who he's not there anymore, on prominent display in the music concourse, and just the words "and justice for all," and leave it at that. Because one of the clues from the Japanese said you need to tie things together or something like that, and so that's tying those lines together, and justice for all, without using all of that. But the education is something separate.
Yes.
And whatever. Do you have any thoughts on Mr.
Scott Key?
Yeah.
No, I don't have a whole bunch of thoughts. It made sense when we were there, right? And we're kind of checking stuff off, and it seemed like an easy tie-in for anybody that was walking through this path using this verse.
Yeah, for sure. And as we all know, he wrote the Star Spangled Banner, which, I'm going back to it one more time, it's just supposed to make you think of the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag and justice for all. You know, it's tying two things together, like tying these lines together.
Yeah. In our opinion, it seemed pretty straightforward.
Yep. Sounds from the sky near Aces High running north. I'm just going to skip this and we could discuss it with the images, I think. Yeah. So for this, we had sounds from the sky being Sutro Tower, which is the giant radio and tower that's on Twin Peaks.
Yeah. It's on Twin Peaks, but it's not actually on Twin Peaks.
Deidra and I just started watching Twin Peaks last week, like the old show from the 90s. Very weird. Yeah. Different Twin Peaks, so yeah.
But you can see this from most anywhere in San Francisco, right?
Yeah.
And especially from where we were standing there with Francis Scott Key, you look over and it was just like in your face.
Yeah. So. Yep, it was right there. And then, so running near Aces High, running north, but first across. Well, if you continue running on JFK Drive, which is our main thing, that we're headed west, not north. But as far as this theory goes, like we're not saying that this is right.
No.
You know, I have people in the chat. I see
lots of people.
Like Nick is saying, no. You guys got it all wrong. It's the staircase. And yeah, it could be.
Yeah, and
it could be the staircase with the spiral handle.
I've seen some mentions of things that we're going to mention later. This is just what we had started out with years ago.
Yeah, and this is not even our first nor our last ideas for San Francisco.
Right.
Not even close.
And then running north, you're talking about the drive, right?
Yeah, it's Crossover Drive, which, you know, we see her arms crossed over in the image. And there's literally the road that cuts across, the main road that cuts across Golden Gate Park is called Crossover Drive. And just to the east of Crossover Drive is Prairie Brook Cross.
And a little side fact, a long time ago, what is that, JFK Drive or whatever you want to call it on that end, used to be called like North Drive, North Road. So you might be running north, but you're not actually running north.
That's a very, very, very good point. Yeah, this entire time you're basically running north. So it depends on how historical Byron wanted to go with these things when he got there. Maybe that was a thing. Maybe he took everything as they were. I don't know. So, all right, let's see what else we got. In Jules' direction is an object of Twain's attention. Then we get to the end with the giant pole, giant step to the place the casque is kept. Continuing west half mile from like the Prairie Brook Cross area and everything, you get to Mark's Meadow, and that's where our next stop is.
You didn't see this on TV.
Yeah, because
quick.
It was funny though when Josh was like, "All right, what do you got for Mark's Meadow? Why are we here?"
Yeah,
and we're like, "Well,"
and we were explaining.
Yeah, but this was already like 10 hours into filming.
Oh my gosh!
And we're like, "Why are we at Mark's Meadow?" Oh, his name's Mark Twain. But I don't think we explained that. We just said
we did, and because he had this ahead of time, but we were all also a little brain numb at the time.
Yeah,
like we can kind of speed it along and point out Mark Twain was not actually his name. It would be an object. A Twain is also an object.
Mm-hmm.
They would definitely be of his attention.
Yeah, but I think Josh was like,
yeah,
let's just do the fast forward through this part and just walk by. And they did like got like
that was okay.
Yeah, drone footage of us just walking down the road next to Mark's Meadow, and that was it. Yeah, so I'm gonna read some of this here though. Mark Twain was best known or it was the pen name of Samuel Clemens. He started writing as Mark Twain in 1863 as a newspaper reporter. The term Mark Twain means Mark number 2 in steamboat piloting language, I guess. The second mark on a lead line or sounding pole that measured depth signifying 2 fathoms or 12 feet, a safe depth for a steamboat.
Correct.
So, yeah. And then it says in Jules' direction, we figured at this point was the baseball field. And this was before Boston was found. So
that's true.
We were on that baseball stuff early, weren't
we? Yeah, we went through. I mean, you can even see. So the map we were using here was dated to the right time period.
Yeah.
We're like, wait, there's a baseball field, a diamond.
I think this was this map in 1980 or 81?
I'd have to double check. I think it was like 81.
It might have been 79. We got all.
That's true. I have my other map, this one from 82.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's one of the maps. Is this the map that Josh took and never gave back?
Yes. I have pictures. It's okay, Josh.
We gave him a whole bunch of stuff and
don't just calm down.
Hey,
we said he could take those.
Josh, we still heart you. It's all good. Yeah. So there's a baseball diamond marked on the map, and you would basically, if drawing a straight line, you would kind of go right over it to get to Lindley Meadow, where we wanted to ultimately end up.
Yeah.
So
next place on our path.
All right. Then we get to the giant pole and the giant step.
It was no longer.
That didn't exist anymore. Yeah, so I already mentioned some of this. The Goddess of the Forest sat in Lindley Meadow until 1986, and now it's at the City College in San Francisco.
Correct.
I visited it.
Yep.
Deidra didn't. She sat in the car with the kids.
Yeah, that was a interesting trip. We had the kids, and you can't get them in and out, and yeah.
Very magnificent, even though it's
it's huge.
But right now it's only half of its former glory.
Oh.
Like it's less than half of its former glory.
Exactly.
Because literally it's just the shell of the front from the top of the head down to the bottom of the bear's feet. And so like everything else below that's gone. The back is gone. Quite sad, but still majestic in its own way.
So yes, and I've seen several people mention this.
What's that?
We know it's been dug all the way around.
Oh, around the pedestal?
Yes, we knew that coming in.
Mm-hmm.
We knew that we had that information of where exactly and how far out it was dug around and what depth. But that is not the location in which we were hypothesizing and digging. So they wanted to have actually reached the location that we thought it was at. Mm-hmm. So the digging out, yeah, I agree. It's not within that area.
Yeah. So
if it's in Lindley Meadow, it's not within that dugout portion.
Yeah. Matt Sparks says that he dug like 3 or 4 feet out from the pedestal, 3 or 4 feet down, all the way around the entire thing. Mm-hmm. And even I think he had some tracks out, like maybe this would be a giant step forward and digging that trench.
He shared that information with us. Yeah.
And I guess everybody else. But we weren't there, so I don't know how far down he actually went. Maybe he did. I have no reason to think that he didn't. So, but that's not where we were digging. We were digging based off of our shadow theory, which took it 30 feet away or whatever. Or maybe even more than that. I don't remember. But yeah, we have some imagery here of like the building, the sculpting of the goddess of the forest with Dudley Carter himself. I couldn't believe when you found
at
this
the
video.
Fair. Yeah, at the World's Fair.
Where'd you find the video?
Cool. National Archives. It was either National Archives or actually like San Francisco's online archives. I've spent a lot of time in historical archives, hence why I have to wear glasses all the time now.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. Well, it was really cool to see this, and there's even another cool image here. I was really impressed with this image on the right because we have like almost a full totem pole with Dudley Carter and his axe next to it, and this is when he's building it, and this is actually stitched together. Like you stitched this image together.
Yeah, because it wasn't all there, like all at one point. You had to pan up. But look how big he is.
Yeah.
Standing next to the foot.
Yeah.
And just kind of gives you some perspective. And that's before, it was put on the totem pole and then put on a hill on the pedestal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that changed things.
Yeah, it was like the people that built the app that projected the shadow. I don't think that they just did a straight projection of the shadow on a flat surface. There was no accounts for the hills, and so that didn't help. And then it's a needle in the haystack. The thing isn't there anymore. Could it be there? Maybe, but I'm not like so married to the whole shadow theory anymore.
Oh no, but it made sense.
Yeah, well, 2 of the verses out of the 12 specifically call out the word shadow. And so shadows could still be a thing, maybe even if it's just for those verses, or maybe it still has a broader meaning. Because when we ran what we think were the shadow casters and everything for places like Chicago and Cleveland, they seem to point you
to a line
to the dig site, but we don't know. We've never been there, and whatever.
Like to point out, this is from the Art in Action exhibit at the Golden Gate International Exposition, so World's Fair, on Treasure Island. I bring that up because we're going to talk about that at a later time.
We're going to Treasure Island soon. Oh, well, not really.
Well, not officially going. But.
Yeah. And so we thought that you would get to where the goddess of the forest is, cast a shadow at 6 o'clock because we have the 6 o'clock on the painting, and 6 p.m. on a certain day, which with the zodiacs, and you've seen it on the TV show. Yeah. And that's where we got to that spot. All right. Image matches not seen or things that weren't in the poem
that
or the verse.
Potentially are image matches.
Yeah. So we had Golden Gate Park.
Yep.
And then we also had the arch at the top. It like mimics the
moon bridge.
The moon bridge at the Japanese tea garden very closely. And there's moons there. And the bridge is called the Moon Bridge. I mean, it fits really well.
And for those who don't know, the tea garden is in the music concourse, which is where we were also seeing other identifiers, in our opinion. So it seemed very
it's
fitting.
Like, hey, you're in the right spot. Keep going. We also have the trolley. Oh my gosh, I just did it. Yeah. Earlier, Deidra says it's trolley. I'm like, the cable car wouldn't take too nicely to that.
Yeah, my bad. And then he made a mistake.
So cable car, perhaps beneath the table, the outline of a cable car, and then on top of the table you have the clock with the bell on top, and the top of the bell looks just like the bell on the cable car.
Very spot on, yeah.
And then we have the strawberry. We have what looks to be the most iconic building in the skyline of San Francisco at the time, and probably still. Yeah. The Transamerica building looks like the shape is there on the side.
And that's something that we know was in the Cleveland painting had a building that was iconic.
Upside down, just like this one.
Yeah. So to us said, oh, well, this really could be a thing.
Could be. And then other things that we saw, maybe the rock in the background was Alcatraz.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had this guy. Do you remember Robert Stroud?
Mm-hmm.
Who's he?
The Birdman of Alcatraz.
And who's depicted in the book?
Pretty clearly. I mean, it looks like him, and he has a bird in a cage. He has his lawyer friend there.
Well, that's the owl by Elf.
I know, that's what more or less what I meant.
And then the rose looked like it could be a representation of Angel Island. So we threw all this at them just so that we can, they were on the same page as us, is like, hey, this is San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
We even showed them where the coordinates were hidden in the painting, that I think Robert Fox was the first one
who was it? Yeah.
to figure out that coordinates were a thing. So thank you to him. And then we said, this is where we want to dig. We didn't give an exact X marks the spot because if this top secret document got out with our shadow theory, we felt like, oh my gosh, someone's going to go dig it up first.
Right. Live and learn.
I laugh about that now.
Yeah, I know.
It's really funny.
It is pretty funny.
And then we had some notes about the Japanese edition of the book and the what the hints could be. Pause it and read them over if you want to. We're going to move on.
Yeah. I think most everybody knows about the Japanese edition of the book, which
I even put
discovered.
I put my own notes in here when you were making up this document and saying, hey, he said M and B, like he told Brian Zinn M and B were Mozart and Beethoven, and in the hints, the Japanese hints, it says that these are composers, so we know that confirms that these are real.
Yeah.
Anywho, here's Deidra. Oh, we went back after the meeting with Josh Gates and we projected our own shadow.
So what we did, what you're seeing is me with a giant telescoping pole.
It's a painter's pole.
It is a very long painter's pole, even with an additional length on top that we added. It barely fit in the minivan that we had rented, and that's why it had to come in 2 parts. But we wanted to go back on the day we thought was the shadow caster.
Yep.
And able to adjust the height of it to what we thought the different heights were of the totem pole, right? So we've heard different heights because it was cut down part way and being able to project that.
Yeah. So like when it started, this thing was 30 feet tall.
Mm-hmm.
And then at one point it was at least 24 feet tall.
Mm-hmm.
And it might even been shorter than that before they removed it from the place. Anyway, that's a lot of space to cover.
Yeah. And we don't know for sure what height it was if Byron was there.
We don't know
how
it could have literally been 28 feet tall and then got chopped down and chopped down and chopped down. And now it's 15 feet tall.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So, I don't know if you know about these next pictures. I
looked through them.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So here's us casting our shadow.
This was as the shadow was, the time was coming. Yeah. Right? We're like, okay, where is it?
So that would be, I think that was when we were measuring at 24 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And then Deidre's laying out, like literally, explain what this is real quick.
In on this, sure. So poor people can see it. So I'm a type A. I'll admit it. So what you're seeing is 2 different colored tapes of, what do I want to say? Marking tape. And then where Dustin he's taking the picture. That's me on the ground.
I'm on the pedestal.
And so the pink tape is the width of the goddess of the forest. The middle line within the pink tape is the center, right? Mm-hmm. That of where we measured on the shadow cast with the pole. So we knew exactly where it would land, because the goal was to be able to have a very precise digging spot.
Yep.
Based off that height. So we marked it because we only had a short period of time.
Yep.
We marked it there. And what you're looking at in that little pink section was the width of the goddess, and based off of our pole shadow projecting at that time, where that would land based off of that height.
And the orange tape is the trees?
Shadows? No, yeah. The orange tape is the shadows of the tree that were behind us on the ground at that time, which was fascinating because it looked like an image match that I'm not sure if we actually got in here.
I don't have it in here, but it's the 3 dots and the Roman numerals.
It was the triangle with the 3. There's a line in the middle, and then it comes out, and the one line. It looks it's a 4, a Roman numeral 4, but it's not.
Yeah. Anyway, this is from where we think the end of the goddess would have been, looking back at the pedestal.
You can see the hill.
Like literally, this is if it was 24 feet tall at the time. If it was 28 or 30 feet tall, or what probably wasn't 30 feet tall, but if it was any taller, we missed it by a mile, because if you're off by an inch,
you're off by a mile.
That's right. Oh, and here's Deidra in the hole.
Yeah. I mean, I take my digging pretty seriously. You only have so long. To dig.
And when we bring a tarp if you're going to dig, because you can put all the dirt on the tarp, and it's easier to get back in the hole without missing. Oh, there's Deidra in the hole.
Yeah, so he's sharing some extra ones. Me nice and dirty.
That's fun, right? Oh,
there it is.
We're back to the beginning. So that's it for Golden Gate Park. We're going to move on to Chinatown now, but that's one idea for Golden Gate Park. I know there's lots more, like that pole, like the handrail in the kind of center of Golden Gate Park over by what is it by?
I think Shakespeare Garden.
No,
is it over?
I think it's.
I can't remember. We went.
No, it's over by. So the music concourse. I think it's just west of the music concourse.
Oh yes.
And there's a handrail that has a spiral pole that looks a lot like this. The spiral on the
image.
The rose stem. So hey, if that's it, go dig it up.
Yeah,
and that's awesome. And I crossed my fingers for you. All right, we're going to a whole different track.
Yeah, this may be for some people absolute like blasphemy that we would do such a thing as try a different verse.
Well, our good buddy Coy used this verse on the same episode of Expedition Unknown we were on, but he was like
on the other coast.
Yeah, he was on the other side of the country. All right, so this is verse number 6, and do you want to read it or do you want me to?
You can. That's fine.
All right. So this is what most people like to use in Charleston, South Carolina. This is using it in San Francisco in Chinatown. So
giving it a shot.
Let's see. Of all the romance retold, men of tales and tunes, cruel and bold, seen here by eyes of old, stand and listen to the birds, hear the cool, clear song of water, hearken to the words, freedom at the birth of a century, or May 1913. Edwin and Edwina named after him. Or on the 8th is seen, where law defended, between 2 arms extended, below the bar that binds, beside the long palm shadow, embedded in the sand, waits the fair remuneration. White House close at hand.
Whew. So yeah, most people know this being affiliated with a different painting.
Yeah, painting 2. But no, we're trying painting 1 here.
Yeah, why not?
Well, back when this first launched, nobody knew what painting went with what verse, so you had to consider everything. And we're traveling back in time. Let's get in our DeLorean. We're going to pretend like it's 1982 and test this with a different one.
Well, I think sometimes it's better to completely wipe away all of your thoughts and ideas that you have and just take it back to scratch and try to disprove things.
All right. So I went to Google Maps. I went to San Francisco and I just typed in Chinatown. Okay. And it gave me this kind of rectangular section of San Francisco downtown that encompasses Chinatown. As you can see, it's not too far from the Transamerica Pyramid.
Correct.
It is not far from the Fairmont Hotel. And we'll talk about that in a few. This is the immigration connection to the Secret is China and the Chinese, and it says from far cafe.
Yep.
In the litany of the jewels. So a cafe is I think the old I think like Marco Polo. Yeah. He was trying to get to cafe and to I think India to try to get the spices or whatever.
Right.
So like it's just what they used to call China a long time ago. All right, so we're going to begin at the top of the verse. Of all the romance retold, men of tales and tunes, cruel and bold, seen here by eyes of old. I know that's kind of grouping a bunch of the verse all together, but
there's a reason.
Us, like a lot of other people, have we feel this is a reference to Treasure Island, the book by Robert Louis Stevenson.
Yep.
And Treasure Island, one of the reasons we think that this might be a San Francisco verse is because, well, I didn't get an image of this, but right out in the San Francisco Bay, just to the east of San Francisco, there's an island called
Treasure Island.
Wow.
Which was made for the World's Fair.
Yes.
Where Dudley Carter actually carved. That's why I mentioned it when we were there, is that's where he carved it. It's a man-made island.
Yeah. And I mean, but it's like a known treasure island that exists, and that could just be like, hey, I'm reading this, man, this shirt, like, okay, I'm reading the verse and I'm thinking to myself, wow, this sure sounds like the preface to Treasure Island. Yeah, there's a treasure island in San Francisco. Maybe it's just Byron's expecting people to read this and just make those realizations as they're reading along.
Maybe this is your wedding one image with one verse to, this is how it's your confirmer that they went together.
It could be.
Again, just an opinion, but why not?
Yeah. So the men of tales and tunes, cruel and bold, this is the preface to Treasure Island. When you read Treasure Island, this is the part of the book that, before the story starts, this is what you get. I'll read it.
Yeah.
All right. To the hesitating purchaser, if sailor tales to sailor tunes, storm and adventure, heat and cold, if schooners, islands, and maroons, and buccaneers, and very gold, and all the old romance retold exactly in the ancient way, can please as me they pleased of old, the wiser youngsters of today. Whew. So it be, and fall on. If not, if studious youth no longer crave, his ancient appetites forgot, Kingston or Ballantyne the brave, or Cooper of the wood and wave, so be it also. And may I and all my pirates share the grave where these and their creations lie. Wow. Robert Louis Stevenson, it was really poetic and everything very back romantic in the day, but man, that's hard to read right now, out loud anyway.
Yeah. Why do you think I said, nah, you should go ahead and read it?
Well, gee, thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So we have lots of things jump out from the beginning of the verse for
Byron made it a little bit more current for us.
Yeah. Cruel and bold, tales and tunes.
Eyes of old.
We have this stuff in here, so we think, and a lot of we're not the first to think this, obviously, that it's just supposed to draw your mind to Treasure Island. And where's the Treasure Island? But in San Francisco, in the San Francisco Bay. All right, and here's a Google Maps image of this is the southern part of Chinatown. And where the pin is in the lower left-hand corner, that building right there is actually where Robert Louis Stevenson lived while he was in San Francisco.
Correct.
And there's a plaque there on the building that says, to this day, Robert Louis Stevenson lodged at 608 Bush Street, December 1879 to March 1880, and there wrote essays, poems, autobiography, and fiction. This plaque was placed by the Myers of the author in cooperation with the California Historical Society, July 26, 1972. So we know for a fact that this plaque was on display during the time period when Byron Preiss would have been in San Francisco burying the casque, wherever he buried it, if it was here or not.
So we have a tie to the author.
Yep.
And the book within the city.
Yep.
I mean, this to us felt really good.
It feels really good for sure. All right. And then if you go just north, the northern part of Chinatown, you get to a park called Portsmouth Square.
Yes.
And we have this magnificent piece of craftsmanship?
A
What is
piece
this?
of craftsmanship. Well, obviously, it's to remember Robert Louis Stevenson. I can't remember the name of it right now.
Well, it's just the Robert Louis Stevenson Memorial.
But I thought it had an actual... No, the boat.
Oh, Hispaniola?
Thank you.
Yeah, the boat.
I was...
Yeah, because this is
The boat. Yeah, I sound really intelligent right now.
the boat. That's the boat from Treasure Island.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Captain Long John Silver's boat. So yeah, this is how the Robert Louis Stevenson Memorial looked like during its early days. There was like a platform on the bottom. There was some chains that encircled part of it, and then it was transformed into a water fountain.
Yeah,
which is weird.
Weird, but also okay.
Yeah, and this was moved around, I think, a couple times in Portsmouth Square, but
yeah,
I think where it currently is where it's been since 1980.
I don't have a confirmer on that.
I'm pretty sure that's the case.
Okay.
I've looked, but I just don't have it on hand. But yeah, so it's changed a couple times. You see, you notice the shrubbery around it. There's still like some kind of pavement that this guy is standing on in this picture, drinking out of the
water.
Fountain. Yeah. Oh, and cool, clear sound of water coming soon.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but now
there it is.
Now this is what it looks like, and it looks kind of sad.
Yep, you can see in the middle, like where the drinking fountain, like where the water comes out.
Yeah.
Like the boat still looks pretty and such, but man, it's definitely not the grand monument it was before,
and
right?
It doesn't even have like the platform. Like it's just grass all in front of it and stuff. Yeah.
Like that's
kind of sad.
So was it picked up and put back down? Was it, that's kind of the question.
That is the question. Yeah, well,
it's there.
I'm pretty sure it was moved a couple times.
Yeah.
But where it's now, this spot is where it's been since a long time. All right, so this I don't have anything really good for, except for the fountain, if it's in Portsmouth Square. But like this presentation that I put together is mostly for like southern Chinatown, not northern Chinatown where Portsmouth Square is. So well,
and we're of the belief, well, we haven't talked about it in a while, but thinking that the immigration group is rather important to this, to finding this.
It seems the three that have been found are in very prominent areas that represent the culture that is highlighted in The Secret.
I mean, Boston most recently was found in the Boston Italian sections, like the biggest and most robust. That's what Chinatown is in San Francisco. It is the biggest. It is the, historically important.
Well, and look at Cleveland, Cleveland Cultural Garden. It was found in the
Greek cultural,
and that was the Greek section. Puzzle. So it doesn't mean that it's a hard and fast rule, but I mean it's a good thing to go on. Like that's why looking in Chinatown is something that you should at least consider.
Oh yes,
Golden Gate Park stands out like a sore thumb in the image, and it would make a ton of sense for it to be there. But there's not a whole lot of Chinese stuff that we can find as far as Golden Gate Park goes.
Not as cultural references go. It makes so much more sense for it to be here. It's very straightforward, in your face, like.
Well, because it's the largest Chinatown outside of Asia,
right? I mean, it goes hand in hand.
Yeah. So like, if anyone wants to help with Chinatown and can find a great stand, I think in the past I had good ideas for these. I just don't remember because, at the beginning, Deidra was like, "You're all 24/7 Secret." Not really. To be honest.
No.
And neither, she's not at all. And me, not really. Like, I don't do a lot with it anymore. I've had a lot of these ideas like years ago, and so is Deidra. And it's hard to remember it all, to be honest.
It is. And, and it's not to say that the other verse doesn't work in Chinatown, because we've explored that avenue as well.
Yeah, like there's a Post Street, and giant pole could be a post made out of wood.
Stonewall's door. I've for a long time been saying that could just be a reference to the Great Wall of China.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't it be Stonewall's door be the entrance to Chinatown, which actually would just be the Dragon Gate?
Yeah.
So it's a metaphorical Stonewall door. Why not?
Why not?
Like,
why not? You know, just yesterday I was considering using the first chapter written in water verse at Cliff House.
see, like at this point,
because I was watching that Cliff House presentation, and you know what I saw? I saw a picket fence that isn't there anymore. Yep. That may have been there in 1980. It might have been green. Who the heck knows?
It's good to open your mind, friends.
Yep. All right. So then we go on to the next part of the verse. Hearken to the words, freedom at the birth of a century, or May 1913. So this guy was rising to power to give his country freedom at the birth of the 20th century. And actually, we're going into St. Mary's Square at this point because that's where we find this this figure.
Yes,
St. Mary's Square has this,
which isn't far away from where we just were.
Well, it's not far from Robert Louis Stevenson's house. It's like a block and a half tops. Yeah. So this is this picture is taken if you're standing kind of toward the middle of St. Mary's Square, and on the left you see a giant statue. It's 14 feet tall. On the right, you see a St. Mary's not university. That's Oak Island.
Yeah, right.
St. Mary's Cathedral in downtown San Francisco.
Yeah.
Curiously, it's one of the only buildings that didn't completely crumble during the 1906 earthquake.
I still think there's a representation of it in the image. I'm just going to say it.
Well, when we get to the end, remind me and we can look for it.
Justin's never been partial on that, though.
All right. So this, Mr. Sun.
Yes.
This is Sun Yat-sen.
Hopefully we got that.
Yeah.
Sorry if not.
Well, he's not here. He's not watching.
I know, but it doesn't mean people with.
Yeah. So at the birth of the century, was it the Ming Dynasty? I think it might have been the Ming Dynasty was like controlling China, and Sun Yat-sen was one of the freedom fighters fighting for the freedom and for revolution of China. He was the first president of the People's Republic of China, and in May 1913, that was the first time that the United States recognized the Republic of China as the government of China.
Yes.
And so we think that this, when we were discussing the freedom at the birth of a century or May 1913, we think it could be representing Mr. Sun, or his name's Sun Yat-sen.
Yes.
I
mean, it seems, especially since you have the or in there, right? So it's two things that tie together to the cultural reference.
Yeah.
And is right there within the cultural location and meets either or. That feels good.
Yeah. And I mean, if nothing else, The Secret has made me look closer at all these heritage.
It's really cool.
Things, and so that those are on top of my mind whenever I look at this stuff, because I feel like there's importance.
Yeah, there is.
You know, so could this be what it is? Maybe, but it could. You know, there's a good chance it's not either. We're not saying anything's right here. We're just brainstorming and having our minds.
Here.
We're having our minds open. All right, so then we have the next part of the verse where it says Edwin and Edwina, named after him, or on the 8th, the scene where law defended. Well, you know, a lot of people like Abroad in America and tying this to Charleston because of this. That could very well be. But there is a famous American named Edwin that had a daughter named Edwina. And his family is not just famous, infamous.
Very.
His brother did like the worst thing you could do to America at the end of the Civil War. That's kill the figurehead who led the Union to overthrow the Confederacy. Anyway, we're talking about Edwin Booth. His brother was John Wilkes Booth. We'll come back to him in a little bit, because there might be, like, this is something that Deidra has brought up on a couple of times, is there might be something in the painting that leads you to John Wilkes Booth. But this is Edwin, and
Edwina.
And Edwina. Yeah, and you like this image.
Yeah, because She looks like she's about to fall asleep, and that's one way to get a child to hold still long enough for a picture that takes such a long time to take.
Yeah, so this image was probably taken in the I don't know, mid to late 1800s. So
when I was looking through these today,
yeah,
you know what I thought at first?
What?
I thought it was Chris Morford. I had to do a double take.
Oh, that's really funny. I don't think Chris Morford's watching. He's one of the Oak Island theorists that shows up
wonderful.
on Oak Island. Yeah, we love that guy.
But I was like, what's Chris doing there? He's a time traveler.
Yeah, I wonder if he's like a Shakespearean actor like Sir Edwin here.
Maybe.
All right, so Edwin, his name is on a plaque, just like literally less than a block from the Dragon Gate, a block away from St. Mary's Square, and the block opposite the Dragon Gate from where Robert Louis Stevenson was where his house was.
So St. Mary's Square is where Sun was.
Yep.
Right. And then Dragon Gate is down on the left.
Yep. And
then the pin is California Theater, which is where you're saying the plaque is, right? Yeah, and here's the plaque. It says, on this site at the California Theater, January 18th, 1869, opened with the following stock company. And there's a whole list of people, a whole bunch of people. The I guess the fifth line from the bottom says Edwin Adams, John Burroughs, and Edwin Booth. There's actually two Edwins on the same line there. And there's a third Edwin, a female, Sophie Edwin, up in the middle here. So Edwin is actually called out 3 times on this plaque. And then we had Edwin Booth's daughter. Yeah, and one of the things that I had thrown out, I don't know, like a year ago, 2 years ago, was maybe Edwin and Edwina are named after him. Maybe the him is actually still Edwin Booth. So Edwin and Edwina, or it's just Edwin first, and then separate is and Edwina named after him, referring to Edwin. Referring to John Wilkes? No, referring to Edwin again. And that's why there's Edwin on twice on this line, is what my thought was. So was Edwin Booth the younger or the older brother? Do you know? I think he was older. Okay. Yeah. And he was a Shakespearean actor. He was he might have been the best or most famous actor in the world at the time, or at least in America. And pretty hot ticket to get when he's in town. Right. Yeah. So that's where we thought that Edwin and Rita could mean, is just referencing this plaque and just kind of giving you like maybe boundaries of like encircling the area where you would ultimately end up. Kind of like we think happened with San Francisco, right? Yeah. All right. So between two arms extended, below the bar that binds, beside the long palm shadow, embedded in the sand, waits the fair remuneration. That's a lot. And it's all questions at this point. But it's also a very specific thing. It's kind of like how at the end of the Chicago verse, it's telling you exactly where it's at, right? Yep. So with this, it feels like very deliberate directions that you need to check off. So if I were evaluating where I had dug something, I'd say, okay, it's going to be between the two arms extended, below a bar that binds, beside the long palm shadow, embedded in the sand. Like that's how surveyors would write their original survey outlines. Okay. You know, it would be a meets and bounds description, which is more or less what this is. That's it. Good tangent for you. And why is fair capitalized? Fair people. I think fair people is capitalizing most of the stuff in the book. Fair people, but fair. Well, it's the fair people's treasure. That remuneration means treasure or hidden thing. And so, yeah, it is curious though. Maybe there's something there. I don't know. Embedded in the sand. San Francisco, like when we dug in Golden Gate Park, especially, it was mostly sand because Golden Gate Park was built on top of these sand dunes. There is soil there too, but it's mostly sand. Yeah. I don't know about Chinatown. Chinatown. So a lot of it, I believe it's Chinatown. I know a lot of what's along there. There's old ships and parts all under the ground, and then it was built on top of, like different sandbanks and all that. There's so many boats under there. In case you were wondering.
So if that's the case, there's probably a lot of just sand.
Probably.
Yeah, and there's probably, but where I'm thinking that this could be is St. Mary's Square.
Mm-hmm.
St. Mary's Square is a park that's built on top of like a structure.
Yes.
It's like a parking garage.
Yeah.
And so it's not like you're just building on top of the dunes. So I don't know if there's a lot of sand in there.
Maybe.
And so that's one of the questions I have here. But there's also possibilities for outside of St. Mary's Square that I'll get into here in a moment.
Agreed.
Deidra noted that if you look at the painting, you do see two arms extended.
Mm-hmm.
And they're in opposite directions if you're looking at the clock on the table with the bell on top, with the silhouette of what could be the cable car directly beneath.
Mm-hmm. Cable car or some. I keep going back, like, could this be a lamp still down on the
Could
bottom?
I almost put in a picture of the fire and police boxes because that looks a lot like that too.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know that there's any in Chinatown, but there might be. I just don't know. And I forgot to put it in.
I'd like to point out, so you see the way it's painted,
yes.
right? So it's very reminiscent of the Chicago painting, and where the casque was dug up there with the halo and the fence and fixture that are called out is painted very much like this. It's almost like something's missing, right? Like the final dig spot thing is missing. So like maybe whatever this is, what is right by where you're supposed to dig.
Could be.
Could. That's it.
It could mean that it's right next to the train tracks or the
cable
streetcar.
Mm-hmm.
Cable car. Gosh. Cable car's gonna be so mad at me.
It is. It's coming for you.
Speaking of the cable cars.
So
literally right out here in front of St. Mary's University.
We're not at Oak Island.
St.
Mary's Cathedral.
Yeah. So right in front of St. Mary's Cathedral, California Street runs up and down all day long. We have these cable cars.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very strong for this picture of what could be the silhouette of a cable car with the bell on top, which matches the bell of the cable car. As you can see next to this building, there are a bunch of trees, and these trees are planted in the soil. I don't know if it's sandy soil underneath, but there's a chance, I think maybe where these trees are, that could be where he buried it. And I'll get into that.
Yeah, you can even see one of the Chinatown lamps right there. I mean,
yeah. And there's a clock. We're talking about a clock. I mean, there's a clock tower. Bam, right there.
It is.
With do you have the words?
No, I was looking for it right now.
It's like it's a warning for like sailors and like military men. That's what it's like, a Bible verse, I think, from I don't remember which book, but it's like it says something about I don't know. Look it up.
I will,
because it's like warning them against prostitution and stuff like that.
St. Mary's
Cathedral.
Yeah,
that's what this was.
I was hoping it was a Psalms,
no,
because I was like, long poem.
Oh my gosh, wouldn't that be great?
Wouldn't that be great? I was like, okay, what's the longest Psalms? But that
would be pretty great. So anyway, this is St. Mary's Cathedral, and we got some more looks at it. This is from inside the park, kind of over by Sun Yat Sen. And yeah, like literally the cable car is right there, and that is important. And then we have these Chinese buildings, the ones that are really styled Chinese, like you would imagine from the Chinese culture,
from an older,
and look at it, it says trademark, and there's this Chinese zodiac with the yin yang right in the middle, and we know there's a yin yang right in the painting,
right?
So I mean, all of this is on the corner of California and Grant Street. Yes. And then we also see these hanging lanterns over by the church, and the tops of them kind of look whitish and the bottoms are red. We also have this is a video I found, or this is a screen cap from a video that was in, I think, the 1960s or early 60s, and you can see that the lamps are all white.
Yeah.
And that stands out to me because the top of the painting has the moons, and they're all white. And when we were with Josh in Golden Gate Park, he had mentioned that John Palancar did not call these things moons. He called them spirit orbs. And I'm thinking to myself, well, what if these lanterns are spirit orbs?
Right.
And what if these are supposed to make you think of the lanterns in Chinatown rather than moons?
Right.
So I don't know what John Jude Palancar was going for, but as far as I know, he calls these things spirit orbs, and that does not mean moon. So I don't know. Just something that I wanted to throw out there. And here is an older image. Still, I think this is from sometime in the 1980s or maybe 1990s. But there's a giant gold cross on top of St. Mary's Cathedral that is not there anymore.
No.
And so it would have looked like this when Byron was present. If he buried the casque somewhere in Chinatown, he would have seen this cathedral looking like this with the Transamerica building right there, which might also be depicted in the painting.
The cafe house right here.
Ding, 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 ding.
Seems pretty, and that's been there a long time.
Yeah. And so, I mean, there's a lot going for this area, even if we can't make the best of sense of the verses. Because like Deidra said earlier, maybe this is the giant pole, giant step verse used in this area as well, and not the Robert Louis Stevenson verse. But there's a lot going for this area. Like actually, we're going to get to another thing where St. Mary herself might be involved. So we'll get to that in a moment.
I pulled up the quote from underneath the
clock tower. What does it say?
Sun, like SON. Observe the time and fly from evil. Yeah. It does have the verse.
Yeah, it's like
I always say that one
wrong. I always say it wrong too, but there is a
IV 23.
And on one of the symbols on the side looks like it could be Roman numeral 4, and that's Roman numeral 4.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can never pronounce that right either.
Yeah.
All right, so could it be?
Could it?
It could. I mean, this is a really solid area, and I think it deserves a lot more attention than it gets, personally.
I totally agree.
Like, I understand
the cultural reference is important.
Yeah, and I understand why everybody goes to Aquatic Park. That's a great place.
It's where we started.
It's where we started in Golden Gate Park. I mean, it makes so much sense. Coit Tower makes a lot of sense. It's a giant pole. I mean, there's so much good stuff where you could go in San Francisco, but maybe give a little look to Chinatown, because I would not roll it out.
Absolutely.
All right, so this is one of my favorites. White House, close at hand. There's literally...
This was exciting.
Yeah, because there's a building. There's two buildings, actually, right around the corner from St. Mary's Square.
Would you call them close at hand?
They're very close at hand.
I'm sorry, guys. I can't help it. I'm a dweeb.
You'll be here all week?
Yeah.
So there is the Ritz Carlton. That's the one we're going to look at first.
Yes.
It's look, there's St. Mary's Square. Then we have a road, which is Quincy Street. And then literally the next block is almost all the Ritz Carlton.
Yeah.
The Ritz Carlton looks like the flippin' White House.
Yeah. Does that seem reminiscent?
I mean, does that seem close at hand too? I mean,
like it's right there.
Yeah, it looks like this building. There is the actual White House.
Right.
And then we have the Ritz Carlton looking mighty like the White House.
Right.
So the street that it's on, I don't remember what street. Is it Grant Street?
I was just looking.
It might be Stockton Street, but like it's literally a very narrow street. So it's hard to get a good view of the front of this building. This is one of the best ones I've seen because the trees are not so blocking the view, but it looks like the White House. Okay.
Yeah.
And so also right around the corner is this
White House Garage.
The White House Garage. This is what I found first when I was searching, and it said built in 1908. So I'm guessing it was there.
Yeah, actually went back and did some research about it, making sure that like it was even called the White House then, because I was like, White House Garage, that seems kind of like, dude, anybody could have slapped the name on it. And no, it's legit. I mean, and historical.
Yeah, so this is also on Grant Avenue, which goes right up to the Dragon Gate. You go through the Dragon Gate and you're this is south of Chinatown, just south, one block south. But it's close at hand is the deal here.
Mm-hmm.
And this, I don't know if you can see it very well, but right in the middle, it literally in stone says the White House.
It does.
That's the name of this whole, like, it was a department store.
Mm-hmm.
Like the building was called the White House, and underneath is the White House Garage. It's not really, it's not on Google Maps as the White House because there's other stuff filling up there.
Right?
Like
clearly there's a Banana Republic.
There's Banana Republic. Yes. That is like, that's who is housed in the White House.
Yeah.
But the White House Garage is still, on Google Maps as the White House Garage, and that's what caught my eye first.
Mm-hmm.
And then I really did some looking into this, and here's an old postcard of the White House in San Francisco, California.
I mean, look at it, covered in flags, and it's bananas. It says the White House, San Francisco, California.
The White House. Yes.
There's no denying. I was going to zoom in.
Gotcha.
So it's pretty.
It's exactly spot on.
That's but what then also, if you don't like that, let's look at.
There's also the building that backs up.
I've got options for you.
That backs up to St. Mary's Square and it looks just like the White House. So yeah, there's two White House close at hands, and both of them look phenomenal for purposes that we have here.
Right.
This is so we have the Banana Republic, but that building on the far right,
the White House,
is the White House, and then where the pin is up down the street, you can see the building that is the Dragon Gate, which is the entrance. Could be Deidra's other alternate Stonewall's door, but that's a different verse,
right?
But this is getting you like the grand entrance to Chinatown,
right? And we know there's a dragon on her dress.
Yep, it's flanked by two dragons, but guess what those dragons are doing? They both have their arms extended. So like literally it could be just a signal to like the arms of these dragons that flank the Dragon Gate have their arms extended on a ball. Each of them do. And so is that between two arms extended?
I don't. What's it say under them? Or is that just decorative?
No, I think there is text, but I don't know what it says. I don't remember. I'm pretty sure we've read it in the past.
It very well could not be the arms, but maybe. I don't know. I don't know how long they've been there. Did you check that?
No, but you know what? I don't have all the information for the next thing. I'm going to need to look it up real quick. Stall.
I'm trying to remember what the next thing is even.
Okay, I got it.
Oh, yeah.
Oops.
Sorry, I got excited.
All right, so Madonna of the Rocks.
Yes.
Or on the Rocks, or Virgin of the Rocks.
On the Rocks.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
My bad. Of the Rocks. All right. So this is a painting, one of two, by Leonardo da Vinci.
Correct.
And let me see here.
We've seen in the past that it's very likely that other paintings done within the Secret have references to historical paintings.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely. And so I don't know which one this is, to be honest. Let me see if I can figure it out. So this is the London version, the one we're looking at here. And then there's also a Paris version. That's what they're like, I guess, officially called.
Okay.
This is there's a lot of things in this painting that are very reminiscent to image one, painting one of The Secret. So I'm going to flick between all three of them. So here's The Secret. We see a woman. We see the rocky cliffs behind her, the blues, the glowing. I mean, a lot of stuff in this.
Even the way like the rocks are shaped, you see on the right hand side. So I'm going to use the pointer here. Like this section here,
upper right.
Yeah, reminds me on the other side of this section here.
Yeah.
Right. And then even, yeah.
Yeah. So, a friend of mine, her name is, I can't pronounce her last name, so sorry. Maureen S. She reached out to me and we were chatting about Chinatown a while back. And she had pointed out that these paintings, the Virgin of the Rocks, the Madonna of the Rocks,
Mary of the Rocks.
It's Mary, right? And so the first one was commissioned. It was for the Church of San Francisco in Milan, Italy in 1483.
Coincidence?
So literally this painting, the first one, was commissioned for the Church of San Francisco. And which city are we in?
Is that this painting?
I'm not sure if this is the one.
Or is it the other one?
I'll look.
Okay.
I'll figure it out. So looks like the one that went to London is the first one. So it would be this one is the first one. And so this painting here was commissioned for the Church of San Francisco. It's spelled a little different than San Francisco, California. But it was, it's Mary, Saint Mary. She's got a halo on her head, and she's wearing a blue dress. Could she represent the same woman in the painting for The Secret? I mean, could this woman be Mary?
Maybe.
She has curly hair.
Okay.
She's surrounded by angels, like we have, baby Jesus there. We have other angels, but like literally, could this whole thing be St. Mary? And we're sitting here looking in Chinatown at St. Mary's Square.
At old St. Mary Cathedral.
I know. I mean, like, there's a lot of good stuff going for it here. And it was commissioned, like, I got to say it again, for the Church of San Francisco in Milan, Italy.
That's nice. I'm even looking at, so in the image, which I just noticed, because we were talking about long palms and Palm Sunday and the references there. But in the back of this image, on the back left-hand side on both of them of these paintings are palms, however you want to say it.
Okay.
But so
fronds.
Yeah, but I'm thinking of a long palms shadow.
Maybe it can be metaphorical.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could just be like, find the painting.
I mean, this would be in the shadow of this one.
Yeah, and there are lots of shadows. So, right. I mean, that's compelling to me. I don't have an X marks the spot near St. Mary's Cathedral or St. Mary's Square. St. Mary's Square, like, it's a park, so that seems likely. But
wasn't it overhauled?
I don't think that one was overhauled. No, there's been some work done, especially in the playground sections, but like where the statue is of Sun Yat-sen. I'm trying to really remember his name. Where that statue is, I don't think that's ever been touched since then. That statue used to be in Portsmouth Square.
That's right.
A long time ago. And it was moved to St. Mary's Square like in the, I think maybe 50s, 1950s, and it's been in the same spot ever since.
But we have to remember that in the other ones that have been found, it's not like they were found right next to big monuments, right?
Yeah, they weren't.
They were next to posts or something else underneath home plate, let's say. But possibly.
Yeah, it's an identifying thing.
But it's an identifying thing, but they weren't like grand.
Yeah, but one thing that I've been thinking about a lot lately is maybe Byron picked some of these places based on where other time capsules have been buried in the past.
Okay.
Like, it's a thing that people bury stuff under home plate when they're dedicating new stadiums or whatever. It's a thing to bury, like, okay, in the news in the past couple months, like, there's been these Confederate statues have been removed, right?
Yeah.
In the South. And they find these time capsules in the base of these like statues or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, well, what if Byron, like, he can't get into the base of the statue, but what if he buried some of these at the bases of statues? Because that's traditionally where time capsules have been buried in the past, and it's a known thing. Or cornerstones of like buildings.
Yeah.
That's where time capsules are buried. Could there be one or two treasures of the secret, one or two casques buried next to the cornerstones of some buildings?
Maybe.
Could there be them one or two casks are going to be found buried at the base of some statues.
Well, let's talk about, let's say, Montreal for a second, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Ask permission to dig out.
Get permission to dig out. Yeah.
Permission to dig out. That's Mary too. But anyways, like if that was done at a cornerstone of a building, it feels like maybe you'd want to ask permission.
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
For something like that.
Yeah, and I don't remember who did it, but somebody found right across the street from the Leg Eater lamp, almost right across the street. There's a cornerstone that's in granite that says Walls on it, and Citadel in the night.
Yeah.
The granite walls, windswept halls, and it's granite, and it says the word Walls right there. Mm-hmm. And but I think it's like the sidewalk next to it. Mm-hmm. There's nowhere to dig, but like something like that. Mm-hmm. That would be something. That would be something to think about at least and look into. Like, could you make it sense to line something up with the base of a monument, or not a monument, but a statue, mm-hmm. or a mm-hmm. like the cornerstone of a building? Maybe
you could. It's not that you necessarily need to know where those were buried, but it could be a good thought that they would be within those places.
Yeah, for sure. And so that's kind of it. Mm-hmm. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
I was just going to say with Mary being so Chicago was an image of Grant.
Yes.
And it was found in Grant Park.
Yes. That's a good point.
So we didn't realize that till after the fact.
That's right.
And I don't know that I don't think there's a reference there with Boston, because we knew she was a witch based off of what John Jude Palancar said.
I think it's right next to, there was Salem Street, I think.
Yeah,
something like that led to Commercial Street, which is, the where the site was off of Commercial Street. So, mm-hmm.
So then is this a thought that Mary, could it then be a reference to that park? Like
how the figure, the leprechaun mm-hmm. in the image, what was that, 5? The Chicago image had features that looked like the $50 bill, which would be Ulysses S. Grant. So how Grant is to the leprechaun, this woman in painting 1 could be to Mary. Mm-hmm. Is what you're saying. I like that.
Like, I mean, those could be definite references there. We talked about, but couldn't really touch on, so Booth, right? And the most famous being John Wilkes. Well, if you guys can see my pointer here, we've talked about, is this Lincoln instead of
John
F. Kennedy or whoever else? If it is, it looks a lot like he's laying there. Like, I mean, look at the ridge on this, like in a casket is
with flowers next to his head.
Right. So could this be a reference, just a nod to Lincoln being shot by the most famous of the Booths?
It could be a link to Booth assassinating Lincoln, mm-hmm. having him be represented laying on his back, like he's, I mean, I love that. I like it. It could be. Mm-hmm. Why the heck not?
I've always thought that this here looks like a face on its side, and these look like his hands, like being open mm-hmm. if it's laying sideways. Are those the long palms?
Could be. I always thought that was like a Chinese dragon face. Which looks kind of like the dragon at the front of next to the Dragon Gate.
Yeah.
So
okay, that I could.
So, hey, you said earlier that you thought that the church might be in here.
Yeah. Where do you think that is? Here, right off of her right shoulder here, where it's a very kind of like a prominent outline and then goes out. This kind of looks like that profile of the actual tower.
Yeah, especially with that gold cross that isn't there anymore because it's more flat on top now. But mm-hmm. if that is a representation of the church, it could be like the golden cross, like as that peak. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can visualize it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, for a while, I thought this down here that looks kind of like a mitt was a Buena Vista Park.
Oh, Buena Vista Park. Yeah, over by Golden Gate Park.
Yeah.
In the Panhandle.
And it looked like a hand.
It does look like a hand, yeah.
Mhm.
It looks like a little mitten.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Trying to think what else. Wah! Where'd it go?
Here, hold on. I'll get it back. There you go.
There we go. We talked, and you brought up this kind of look like an oil lamp or something,
Yeah.
right?
Or a genie lamp.
Mm-hmm. Genies. Oh my gosh.
What are you doing?
Because
Calm
I
down.
keep using that to scroll up,
Oh,
and then I
don't do that, silly.
There.
It's her problem on our end, not your guys'.
Yeah. So let's see here.
I don't know.
I don't think there was anything.
My favorite thing with this building that we're looking at
Mhm.
in the painting, that's the Cliff House to me.
This.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a house on the cliff, on the top of the cliff.
But it also
That's what that represents to me.
could just be the rock,
It could be, and that's Alcatraz. So
right? Because
and that's not near Cliff House or Chinatown.
but you can see it from Chinatown. We've seen in several images in Chinatown. You look out into the bay, and it's right there.
Can you see it from Chinatown?
Oh
I don't
yeah,
remember that.
because the hill, and those bars are not doors,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it seems very prison-like to me.
Yeah, and it could just be like, even if it's not in Chinatown, even if it's like, I don't know, where Candlestick Park was,
Mhm.
it could just be representing like, hey, this is San Francisco. The Rock is Alcatraz. It
Mhm.
doesn't have to be near the site. It just can represent it.
Mhm.
So
And the curvature on the top, we talked about that. Could it be the moon bridge? But also, could it just be a reference to the Madonna of the Rocks painting, right?
yeah,
And the way that's
because
curved.
it's curved just like it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't think there was anything.
Oh, there was one more thing I wanted
What?
to point out. Scroll out all the way, or I need to go back. Can I go back from here? Or do you have to? You might have to scroll
There.
out first. One thing I wanted to point out. Okay, you see the dragon. This is at Dragon Gate, flanking the gate to go into Chinatown. The pillar behind is all these squares,
Yeah.
and that stood out to me earlier because we have, in the painting for The
Mhm.
Secret, we have all these squares
Yeah.
that are, basically we have a dragon in the middle.
Mhm.
We have these squares on the cuffs of her dress, but what do they mean? They got to mean something.
Well, like I was saying, if Stonewall's door
Mhm.
happens to just be a reference to the Wall of China,
Yeah.
and let's say
Great Wall.
the Great Wall of China, then and they're on the dragon, it seems to me then that could pair the idea of the Dragon Gate and the reference of the Great Wall of China entrance, maybe.
Yeah.
But
So many possibilities, everybody.
there is.
Please
we
somebody
didn't
go
give
out
you
and
a
dig one
dig.
up.
We didn't give you a dig spot, sorry,
No.
but it was an idea for ideas.
Yeah, well, I think like somewhere in St. Mary's Square is possible, but
very.
also right outside St. Mary's Square, possibly right by the cathedral, is possible. But I don't know that you should go dig there.
No.
But I hope. Oh, something that is happening with San Francisco this week is
yes.
the permits are going to be issued again for digging for buried treasure. That program is starting back up, but it's a new draft.
Mhm. Like a lottery, right?
Yeah, I don't know much about it, but we wish everybody luck.
Yeah, good luck. We want to know
Please.
if you get permission to dig somewhere.
Well, and if you have a good idea for San Francisco, please go there, get your permit, and go dig. And you let yourself, at least if it's not there, then at least you'll know. And if it is there, we could celebrate with you. We want someone to find these things.
Well, negative
Please.
information is still good information, right? When you know something isn't there, that's a place you can cross off your list.
And even if when you go dig your hole, scrape the sides, please, because you saw what happened to Rob.
Oh my gosh!
In Chicago, he almost didn't get it. If you're off by an inch,
yeah, you're off by a mile. And for
Right.
him, that was close. Can you imagine if they filled that hole back in and never knew?
That would suck. Somebody would have found it though. Like that area is totally findable. If they didn't find it, I don't think anybody would have found it until like 2015 or on,
At
but
least.
maybe around the time when not Rob, but Brian and Andy found their cast, maybe someone would have discovered Chicago because I think that you could have figured that one out.
Right.
That was probably one of the easier ones. So.
Mm-hmm.
Taking nothing away from Rob and his friends. They crushed it.
Right.
They're my heroes. So
okay.
Right.
Anything else?
I think that's it.
That's all I have.
Hey, I want to say thank you so much to you for being my guest today.
You're welcome.
And is that all? Is that it?
That's all I got. You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome too. If you'd like to be a future guest on Secret Podcasque, reach out to me. secretpodcasque@gmail.com. Next week I'm going to do a special, it's probably not going to be long. It's probably, unless I don't know, unless some people want to be guests with me and talk about John Michaels, because it's going to be a remembering John Michaels episode. And if you want to be on with me, reach out, secretpodcasque@gmail.com, and we could talk about John Michaels. Go to the group that we run for The Secret. Go to the search bar, type in John Michaels, look at his old stuff. He has presented so much good stuff over the years.
Mm-hmm. When you guys were putting this together, it was great to get to spitball with him some more.
Yeah.
And he had some really great insights, and it was really fun. It was great. And
I sure miss him.
Yeah.
I know you do too. So, let's just remember him in a positive way. Mm-hmm. And like I said at the first episode coming back to this, mm-hmm. if it weren't for him, I don't think anybody would, or not as many people would be into this, because he was one of the driving forces that got the show on Expedition Unknown. Mm-hmm. Even though he wasn't featured on it, he was one of the people behind the scenes that connected people. Mm-hmm. And I think everybody has some thanks to give to John Michaels. So if you want to be on with me, maybe we can do that, and we could just talk about John Michaels. So that'll be next week. And until then, happy hunting. Go dig up a casque, somebody. And thank you all so much
for joining us,
for being here with us. Go ahead and remove us, and I'll play our outro.
All right.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.